I've always held that love rests on a foundation of trust and selflessness. My name is Ethan Parker, and years ago, I walked away from a flourishing career in business to create a life with my wife, Sophia, and our 2 kids. We made our home in a cozy suburban house in a vibrant U.S. city, a place where dawn greeted us with the scent of brewed coffee and chirping birds, and nights echoed with children's giggles and the gentle hum of shared aspirations. Sophia, with her warm smile and quiet wisdom, was my rock and companion. Side by side, we dreamed of a life filled with stability, comfort, and boundless potential. I gave up my corporate goals because I was convinced that our shared journey was the greatest endeavor of all. Every choice to prioritize family was a step toward the future we pictured. Intimate dinners at a thoughtfully set table, bedtime tales that sparked our children's imaginations, and a profound trust that bound our household together. For years, I cherished the world we crafted. But beneath our idyllic routine, I started noticing faint irregularities. It began with minor things: a slightly delayed departure for work, a brief pause in her grin when her phone rang, or a quiet sigh hinting at unvoiced worries. I brushed these off as the strains of juggling a demanding life. Yet, as time wore on, a nagging unease settled in my chest, a sense that our vows might not be as solid as I thought. One crisp fall day, as amber leaves swirled beyond our window, Sophia declared she needed to travel for a work conference to discuss a new initiative with municipal leaders. Her eyes gleamed with a familiar zeal I'd always loved, and I hugged her, confident in the life we'd built. But as I watched her car vanish down the busy road, a strange shiver gripped me, a quiet warning that things weren't quite right. That evening, in the stillness of our home, I opened my worn notebook and began jotting down the day's details: the prolonged farewell kiss, the way her eyes flicked to her phone before leaving, and the extra moments that passed before she drove off. I told myself these were just the flaws of a hectic life, but a seed of suspicion took root that night, one that would soon demand my attention. After Sophia's departure, our home felt eerily subdued. The lively banter and carefree laughter that once defined our family meals faded into a cautious quiet. When Sophia came back, her account of the conference was brief and strangely polished, as if she measured every word. I started picking up on subtle cues: the way her gaze darted to her phone when she mentioned a colleague, the slight waver in her voice when talking about her travel plans, and the faint tension in her smile. Each night, after the kids were tucked in and the house grew still, I retreated to my office. Under the soft glow of my desk lamp, I poured my observations into my notebook. I carefully noted the precise time Sophia left and returned, the brief silences in our talks, and the shift in her laughter, now tinged with restraint. At first, I tried to dismiss these oddities as the byproduct of a packed schedule or the natural ups and downs of life. But as my notes grew, a troubling pattern took shape, a web of small clues suggesting hidden truths. One dreary, rainy afternoon, as raindrops pattered against the glass and the world outside seemed to mirror my grief, I mustered the nerve to ask, "How was your trip?" I aimed for nonchalance as I sipped my tepid coffee, but my voice quivered with unease. Her response was short: "It was okay, just routine meetings." Yet as she spoke, her eyes flicked to her phone, and a fleeting unease crossed her face. My stomach dropped, and from then on, I began tracking her absences, noting the duration of her calls, and scribbling down the unfamiliar names that lit up her screen, names that stirred a chilling curiosity. Night after night, questions multiplied in the silence of our home. I wondered if I'd given up too much of myself for the sake of family, if the ideal of enduring love was just a fragile mirage poised to break under the pressure of buried secrets. Though I clung to the hope that our connection could withstand any challenge, the growing signs, the long pauses, the secretive glances, the inconsistencies in her stories hinted at something darker undermining our life's foundation. By the end of that strained week, my quiet doubts had morphed into an urgent need for truth. I knew that ignoring these signs could cost me more than facing them. With a heavy heart and shaky determination, I braced myself for what lay ahead, aware that each moment heightened the risk of losing not just our trust, but the future we'd so lovingly planned. On a sticky summer night, when Sophia declared she was heading out for yet another work conference, my chest pounded with a blend of fear and fierce resolve. By then, my suspicions had grown into a pressing need, a compulsion to face the shadows that haunted me relentlessly. I could no longer sit idly by, weighed down by uncertainty and the dread of what lurked unseen. Under the cover of Atlanta's sultry dusk, I stealthily left our home, each step laden with both trepidation and a burning desire to uncover the truth. The familiar roads of our Atlanta suburb, typically bathed in the soft glow of streetlights and alive with the gentle buzz of evening routines, now felt altered. Neon lights danced on rain-slicked asphalt, and the city, with its pulsing vitality, seemed to conceal mysteries in every dark nook. My thoughts churned as I trailed her through these changed streets, a path I knew by heart, now twisting into uncharted realms. Every step resounded with a mix of anxiety and a yearning for answers. Each movement felt like a dive into a deepening enigma. Initially, Sophia moved with ease alongside a small group of co-workers, chatting, laughing, radiating the poised confidence I once adored. For a brief moment, I grasped at the hope that this was merely another standard work trip. But as time passed, I noticed her gradually drifting from the group, her steps slowing as she turned onto a quieter, unfamiliar lane. My heartbeat surged with each stride. The city's hum faded into an eerie stillness, overtaken by the steady drip of rain and the rapid thump of my nervous pulse. I kept my distance, each shadow and neon flicker guiding me toward a place I both feared and needed to reach. My pursuit ended at a polished, high-end hotel, a setting that oozed sophistication and closeness, starkly unlike the bland halls of business meetings. I parked a block away and found a concealed spot near a wide window, straining to catch every detail of the scene unfolding inside. What I saw crushed me. Instead of the formal, goal-oriented gatherings I'd imagined, I found Sophia caught up in a secret getaway. There, in the hotel's lavish lobby and dimly lit halls, she was laughing openly with a charismatic stranger whose demeanor blended warmth and effortless allure. Their connection was unmistakable. The way her eyes gleamed with hidden joy, the gentle brush of his hand on hers, and the knowing smiles they exchanged, hinting at a romance flourishing in secrecy. My hands shook as I grabbed my phone, fumbling to record every fleeting moment. The echo of her laughter, the soft words they shared, the tender way she let her hand linger in his. Each snapshot seared itself into my mind, crafting a narrative that clashed painfully with the tale she'd spun. This wasn't a work trip. It was a clandestine retreat, a passionate betrayal that repaid my sacrifices with a deep, burning hurt. I stumbled back home in a fog, my thoughts drowned in bitter clarity, and shut myself in my office. There, beneath the harsh light of my desk lamp, I spilled every painful detail into my notebook. I wrote with raw precision about the way her eyes sparkled with secret delight in the stranger's company, the slight tilt of her head as she hung on his words, and the soft lilt of her laughter, now tinged with defiance. Each word was a stark reminder of the life I'd trusted in, a future woven from shared hopes, now collapsing under the weight of deceit. In that solitary, anguished moment, I swore I wouldn't let this betrayal stay buried. The truth, no matter how painful, had to be faced, and my sacrifices demanded reckoning. In the wake of that gut-wrenching revelation, I channeled my personal torment into a dogged pursuit of concrete evidence, a quest that consumed every hour of my existence. Every small detail, every odd behavior I'd once overlooked as trivial, became a critical piece in unraveling the depth of Sophia's disloyalty. I dove into her digital life with a fervor that left me drained yet resolute. I painstakingly combed through her call logs, scoured her social media accounts, and analyzed every text exchange with a meticulous obsession that teetered between determination and heartbreak. Every late-night message, every unscheduled call, and every unfamiliar name that flashed on her screen was logged in my notebook, as if each were a fragment adding to an ever-expanding mosaic of proof, a mosaic that threatened to brim with irrefutable truth. I spent countless restless nights sifting through every digital exchange. I preserved screenshots of messages that seemed professional at first glance, but, upon closer scrutiny, were threaded with playful flirtations, bold expressions of longing, and private admissions that shattered the facade of work-related correspondence. These messages, cloaked as business emails, were actually a record of a secret affair, a tale of desire and ardor meant only for her hidden lover's eyes. Each discovery cut into me like a jagged blade, eroding the trust one had so carefully nurtured. Not satisfied with text alone, I collected every photo and brief video I'd captured outside the hotel. I devoted long hours to digitizing these visual pieces and weaving them together with the screenshots of their intimate exchanges. With meticulous care, I built a detailed chronology spanning weeks, a timeline that exposed how each of Sophia's so-called work conferences had slowly transformed into a series of secret escapes, marked by covert encounters and whispered confessions. Every entry was annotated with precise dates, times, and locations of these clandestine meetings. Gradually, the dossier took shape as a devastating mosaic, a visual and written record of a deliberate betrayal that left no room for doubt. Yet, as the tangible evidence grew, a deep inner turmoil brewed within me. In the still, solitary hours of the night, I sat alone with the compiled files, digital remnants of my broken trust, and questioned whether my obsessive quest for proof was stripping away the pathetic man I once was. Was I at risk of losing the kind, forgiving spirit that had so fiercely believed in our family's sanctity? Whenever such doubts surfaced, I forced myself to recall the tender, hidden moments I'd seen between Sophia and her lover, the subtle grins, the brief touches, the quiet vows shared in shadowed corners. And with each memory, my determination hardened. The harsh reality became undeniable. The price of her betrayal was too steep to allow even a flicker of mercy to go uncontested. After a grueling week, my dossier was finished. A thorough, irrefutable account of every lie, every secret meeting, every stolen moment of intimacy that had violated the core of our shared dreams. As I reviewed the final pages of my notebook, my hands shaking and my heart weighed down by the amassed evidence, I knew the moment to confront Sophia with this undeniable truth was near. When that time came, nothing could conceal the calculated betrayal I had so painstakingly documented. The dossier was more than a collection of proof. It was the embodiment of every shattered vow, every sacrifice repaid with deceit, a mirror reflecting a painful truth I could no longer evade. With a heavy heart and a resolve shaped by grief and strengthened by unyielding determination, I shut my notebook and gazed at the stacked files on my desk. In that quiet, shadowed moment, I felt a shift taking hold, a transformation from the kind, hopeful man I'd been into someone driven by an unrelenting need to drag the truth into the stark light. Every page, every carefully noted detail, became a rallying cry against the deception that had so deeply wounded. I braced myself for the inevitable confrontation that would soon shatter the fragile illusion of stability that had once defined our lives. The day of truth arrived under a heavy sky that echoed the crushing weight of my sorrow and the stormy emotions raging inside me. I had prepared for this moment for what seemed like forever, a day when every concealed truth would be forced into the unrelenting light. I asked Sophia to come to our home under the guise of talking about our future, a final, desperate effort to salvage what remained of the dreams we'd once cherished. In our living room, once a haven of joy and tender memories, I carefully laid out the dossier on the coffee table. Printed photos, detailed notebook entries, and digital recordings were arranged like silent accusers, each one an undeniable testament to the calculated betrayal that had upended my life. When Sophia walked in, the confident smile I'd once loved wavered as her gaze landed on the damning evidence. For a long, stifling moment, silence hung between us. The air was thick with unspoken charges and a heavy weight of despair. Then, my voice, laden with grief yet burning with fierce anger, shattered the quiet. "Sophia," I started, each word quivering with heartbreak and rage. "I gave up everything for our family. I abandoned a thriving career, my dreams, everything, to build a life with you. And now I see those promises were nothing but a mirage." Her eyes widened in disbelief, and she stumbled over weak protests, claiming it was just a slip, a moment of weakness born from isolation, she said. But every piece of evidence, every meticulously noted detail, made her excuses ring empty and futile. With unflinching precision, I detailed every late-night absence, every covert phone call, every Tinder message that laid bare her betrayal. Each word landed like a sledgehammer, shattering the delicate trust we had so painstakingly built. As her defenses dissolved into soft tears, I made it clear that the truth was now laid bare and that the weight of my sacrifices called for more than hollow apologies. With my heart heavy and my resolve steeled by months of quiet torment, I turned and walked away, leaving her alone in our home, a place now filled with the stillness of broken dreams and fractured vows. Stepping into the cold afternoon air, I swore that Sophia and the man who had exploited our trust would soon face the full repercussions of their actions. My sacrifices were too great to be repaid with lies, and I knew the next chapter of this painful saga would demand justice. A confrontation that would drag every shattered promise into the harsh light of truth. Each step away from that house carried the weight of lost hopes and unspoken pain, and I knew there was no going back. In the grim days after our confrontation, the raw grief that once threatened to overwhelm me hardened into a fierce determination for retribution. I enrolled in intensive self-defense classes, pushing my body through punishing workouts until every bead of sweat and every ache became a physical emblem of the resolve burning inside me, a resolve to reclaim the honor that had been so cruelly stolen. With each precise movement, I felt as though I were slowly rebuilding the man I used to be, rising with renewed purpose from the ruins of betrayal. At the same time, I immersed myself in uncovering the truth about the man who had betrayed us. A charismatic figure whose smooth charm concealed weaknesses I was now intent on exposing. I reached out to mutual contacts, gathered fragments of gossip, and scoured his online presence with a relentless focus that verged on obsession. Bit by bit, I pieced together a profile that revealed the flaws beneath his polished exterior. Every careless choice he'd made, every arrogant dismissal, became fuel for my growing arsenal of vengeance. I documented every detail in my notebook, the precise words he used in casual chats, the slight shifts in his voice when discussing his work, and the rare moments when his confident facade faltered, even briefly. Each fragment strengthened my conviction. I would make him answer for every broken vow and every stolen moment that had tainted the future we once envisioned. In the heavy solitude of our now silent home, I poured my tangled emotions into my notebook. I grappled with a gnawing fear that my unyielding quest for revenge might consume the compassionate man I once was, a man who believed in forgiveness and the sacredness of our family. Yet, each time doubt threatened to overtake me, I recalled the intimate, forbidden moments I'd seen between Sophia and that man. The soft, private chuckles, the secretive glances, the lingering touch that seared into my memory like a scar, and my resolve burned brighter. With the cold precision of someone with nothing left to lose, I began crafting a plan. I chose an elegant, upscale restaurant, a place where my betrayer often held business dinners, and where Sophia had once radiated confidence. As the setting for the next act in this unfolding drama, every detail was carefully planned. The exact moment of the confrontation, the layout of the dining room with its cozy alcoves and soft lighting, and the precise steps that would force a public reckoning. I vowed that the justice I sought would not only restore my dignity, but also serve as a stark warning. Betrayal carries a heavy price, and it must be paid in full. The seeds of retribution, rooted deep in the wreckage of my heart, grew stronger with every painful memory. I spent sleepless nights haunted by the image of Sophia laughing softly with that man, the gentle brush of his hand on hers, the covert glances they shared in the shadows, and with each memory, my determination deepened. Though I sometimes wondered if this dark path might erode the last traces of the kind man I once was, those vivid, burning images drowned out any doubt. With fierce, unshakable conviction, I pledged that, no matter the cost, I would force a reckoning that left both of them forever marked by the truth, a reckoning that would expose every lie and cast our once cherished vows into the unyielding light of reality. Each new piece of evidence I uncovered, every carefully noted detail, felt like a small triumph, a step toward reclaiming the honor that had been so cruelly torn from me. I documented every secret call, every covert message, every hidden rendezvous until my dossier grew into a formidable testament to betrayal. With every added page, my determination solidified, turning the sting of each memory into fuel for an unrelenting drive for justice. Beneath a sky weighed down by dark clouds and a steady drizzle that cast Atlanta's neon lights into a mournful, shifting mosaic, the night of reckoning arrived. It was as if the heavens themselves grieved the ruin of all I once cherished. Sophia had mentioned yet another evening out, veiled as always in the pretense of work obligations, and I knew, with a certainty that pulsed in my veins, that she would head to the elegant restaurant where Nathan Carter, her polished and self-assured betrayer, held court with unshakable poise. I parked in a dim, narrow alley, the wet pavement mirroring broken neon signs like fragments of a shattered vow. I sat in heavy silence, each heartbeat echoing the somber rhythm of the rain. Every droplet carried the weight of lost hopes and broken promises. With a final, determined breath, I stepped out and crossed the slick street. The cold night air stung my skin as I approached the restaurant's grand entrance, a modern arena where destinies would be sealed. From the shadowed windows of my car, I watched Sophia step into the rain-soaked night. The woman I once knew, vibrant, warm, and full of promise, now moved was a quiet, almost spectral grace that hinted at the secrets she held. The rain softened her features, but her eyes flickered with hidden sorrow and guilt. Beside her, Nathan walked with confidence, his smooth charm a stark contrast to the storm of emotions raging within me. Every casual brush of their hands, every lingering touch, was a bold declaration of the betrayal that had haunted me in silence for so long. With steady, purposeful resolve, I left my car and moved through the stormy night. The rain mixed with the sweat on my skin as I neared the entrance, each step pulsing with the bitter rhythm of my wounded heart. Inside, the restaurant was deceptively calm, a soft hum of voices, the gentle clink of glasses, and warm lighting that cloaked the space in a serene glow, masking the tempest within me. I wove through the crowd with unwavering focus until I reached a secluded booth in the corner, where Sophia and Nathan sat, lost in their private world of murmured secrets and tender gestures. For what seemed like an eternity, I took in every detail. The soft lilt of their shared laughter, the intimate touches that spoke of closeness, and the knowing glances that confirmed every painful suspicion. The air felt charged with raw, electric tension, a prelude to the inevitable clash of our broken paths. Each second stretched on, each heartbeat counting down to the moment I could no longer stay silent. Then, unable to hold back the storm within me, I stepped out of the shadows. In an instant, everything shifted. Sophia's face twisted into a mask of shock, disbelief, and crushing remorse, a look that shattered the last traces of the love I once held. Nathan's confident veneer cracked under the weight of my sudden, fierce advance as I lunged forward, every movement fueled by months of suppressed anguish and silent pain. I struck him with precise, calculated blows, each one ringing like a final toll, marking the end of an era built on lies. The restaurant erupted into chaos, gasps, whispers, and a clatter of toppled chairs. As I unleashed my rage on them both, I shouted accusations of betrayal, listing the sacrifices I'd made, ensuring every onlooker felt the weight of my retribution. In that raw, chaotic moment, the private haven of our intimacy was torn apart, laid bare for all to see in the harsh light of public judgment. When the uproar finally quieted and a heavy, mournful silence settled over the room, I slipped back into the rain-soaked night. Each step away from that scene carried the bittersweet weight of knowing nothing could restore what was lost. Yet, for one fleeting, painful moment, I had reclaimed a fragment of my dignity from the depths of betrayal, a solitary victory in a battle that had cost me everything. In the days that followed that pivotal night, the world seemed to slow to a somber rhythm, a lingering silence that seeped into every part of my life. I returned to our once lively home, now a tomb of shattered dreams and irreversible choices. The walls that once echoed with joyful memories now whispered of dark secrets and bitter regrets. Though the physical marks from that violent clash would fade, like bruises losing their hue, the deep emotional wounds, the searing pain of betrayal, and the heavy toll of my sacrifices were carved permanently into my soul. They stood as a constant, unrelenting reminder of that night, a ghostly record of every broken vow and every unhealed scar. Word of the confrontation rippled quietly through our neighborhood, shared in soft whispers behind closed doors and cautious glances from neighbors who now viewed me with a mix of sympathy and unease. I had become a figure both pitted and seared, a man whose desperate drive for justice had dragged hidden betrayals into the harsh glare of public judgment. Official investigations came and went in a haze of cold, procedural questions, their detached inquiries barely registering against the relentless storm of guilt and grief churning inside me. Yet the true weight of my actions rested solely on my shoulders, the unending, unanswerable question of whether any act of retribution could ever repair what had been so utterly broken. In the aftermath of that fateful night, Sophia slipped away from our home, as if consumed by the shadows she had long kept hidden. Her absence left a gaping emptiness, a void filled with unresolved questions, sharp regret, and the echo of a love shattered beyond mending. Nathan, too, faded into the background, a mere ghost, diminished by the heavy fallout of his actions. I stood alone amid the wreckage of a future that once held such promise, forever changed by the unyielding path of vengeance I had chosen. In the solitude of my office, once a haven for dreams and quiet aspirations, I started a new notebook, one that captured the raw, unfiltered tale of my journey from sacrifice to betrayal, and from betrayal to an unrelenting quest for justice. Each page became a record of bitter irony. In abandoning my career and ambitions to build a family, I had envisioned a life rooted in steadfast trust. Instead, I found that the very core of that life had been fractured by secrets, lies, and the forbidden closeness that stole my dreams. Every word I wrote was a struggle, a clash between a faint hope for redemption and the stark reality that some wounds never fully close. I documented the echoes of hushed confessions that haunted sleepless nights, the fading traces of laughter turned to silence, and the heavy cost of every shattered vow. As dawn broke on a foggy morning, the dim light of a new day struggled to pierce the thick shroud of sorrow wrapped around my heart. I stood at a turning point, scarred in both body and spirit, unsure if I could ever truly move on. Yet, amid the crushing grief, lingering pain of betrayal, I resolved that my story would stand as a warning, a testament to the fragile nature of trust and the steep, irreversible cost of deceit. Perhaps, in time, these scars might lead me toward a path of tentative healing, a slow, difficult journey toward a peace that now felt nearly out of reach. Now, as I move into an uncertain future, I carry both the legacy of my sacrifices and the heavy burden of my retribution. I am both the avenger and the wound, a man forever shaped by broken vows and a forbidden intimacy that stole my dreams. In the quiet moments before each new day, as the darkness of night gives way to the faint glow of dawn, I hold on to a fragile hope that redemption might one day rise from these ruins. Until that uncertain dawn arrives, I remain a living testament to one harsh truth. The cost of betrayal is steep, and the pursuit of vengeance, even if it brings brief, brutal release, leaves behind a legacy of sorrow, irreversible change, and a heart that may never fully heal.